Sucks.
Hello, traders. Just give me 1 second. Let me connect you with Tamir. We are transferring the late night show with Tamir
Hello,
here in
traders. Just
mind.
give me 1 second.
So that's going to be an echo. Give me 1 second. Let me share this. Copy link. Please go to my channel. We apologize
I'm gonna send them a link to your channel.
for the things happen. I think this will be better. Give me 1 second.
All right. Hey guys.
Technical difficulties, everyone. I apologize.
Technical difficulties. Please stand by. We apologize for any inconvenience this has caused. What's going on, Jersey?
Just give us a couple of minutes to start so that people could
Yeah, we
get
got everybody
into.
logging in. Most people
Yep.
moved over already. Give
Yep.
them a minute.
Let me see.
Looks like I got a little delay.
We apologize for this inconvenient. We just wait for a little while. There's still waiting 112 people waiting for you, Tamir.
I'll send them the link again.
Somebody said, "Is this live about technicals?" And somebody said, "Yes, technical difficulties." So Tamir, I'm gonna put my photo, my video a little bit smaller so you could be leading the show.
Got a little bit of a delay, by the way.
We apologize.
Only 84 left in the other room. They're coming over.
Yes. I think we could be able to start now, Tamir. Go ahead. I'm going to mute myself. So
Hey guys, everybody can hear me okay? So I'm gonna get started. You guys have been waiting a long time. Everyone hear me good? Wonderful. Yes, my head is under my head. That's funny.
We'll give like 1 minute, Tamir, and then we could start.
So, guys, today we're gonna cover some technicals about fundamentals. I mean, some fundamentals. We're going to cover what are stock fundamentals, and we're going to go over fundamentals for Tesla and Nvidia. I'm sure everybody's excited that Nvidia did so well.
Yes, NVIDIA did a extremely strong, did amazing. So they've just reported their record-breaking earnings for the third quarter, Tamir. So it's about $57 billion in revenue. So that's a huge jump compared from last year. And they're projecting even more growth for the next quarter, aiming for like about $65 billion in revenue. So that's incredible. And hopefully this pump will continue tomorrow. There's really no reason for it not to continue. The forward guidance had exceeded. Their AI chip sales are extremely, they call that off the charts, and the demand is skyrocketing. So they've got about $500 billion worth of chips ordered lined up for the next 2026, 2025, 2026. So it's really amazing. So if we're going to go ahead and check the technical, I don't know if you want to talk about technicals now or you just want to talk more about fundamentals, Tamir. You tell me. You lead the way. You're the boss today.
It's all good. We're a team. So Nvidia right now is sitting in the aftermarket at a cool $196. And Tesla also, rallied, which is fantastic for us, to $410.50 in the aftermarket. So it's looking like things are moving up. So I wanted to discuss, what the market is and what are stock fundamentals. So I like to think of the market as a time machine into the future. When you're buying a stock, it's predicting the future projected price of what that stock's going to be. You're buying into a company and you're investing into something that's going to have a set of things that are going to determine what the price is going to be and when it's going to be. So you got news and current events that are important and technicals, obviously, which Miss Mary's the queen of. Knowing who is buying into companies are important, but most of all, this is based on fundamentals and new developments in the company. So, just to get you guys going on what fundamentals are for those of you who are, you use it a little bit, but let's get a clear picture. So, what are stock fundamentals? I like to think of it as a health check for companies. Fundamentals are the core financial and operational metrics that reveal a company's true underlying value and long term viability. Like when a doctor does a full body scan for a business, unlike technical analysis, which focuses on price charts, trends, and short term momentum, fundamentals dig into why a stock might rise or why it might fall. So imagine you're buying a car, and the technicals are like checking the speedometer and the mileage logs. Fundamentals are like peeking under the hood, seeing the condition of the engine, the fuel efficiency, the repair history, and the car overall, to designate what kind of value it's going to get on book. Markets can be very emotional and volatile, but fundamentals can help you spot a company if it's going to be a growth rocket or if it's going to be a value trap. They guide long term investing, Warren Buffett style, buying quality at a fair price. So if we were to dig in a little bit, there are 5 easy questions you would ask if you're buying a stock based on fundamentals. You would say, is the company still growing sales? Are they actually making a profit? Do they have real cash coming in through the door? Is the price totally crazy compared to what they earned? Like some, and you want to do like kind investment comparisons. So the Mag 7, for example, that have tremendous new tech on the horizon, their PE ratio is way bigger than some other companies because they're expected to grow at a much more rapid rate. They're considered growth companies. Are they drowning in debt? So those are kind of the questions that go into fundamentals. This is where the big conundrum comes, where people say Tesla's overpriced, Tesla's underpriced. So if you're basing Tesla, for example, on its technology, on its future, growth and development, you're gonna say it's gonna go to the moon. If you're basing it on fundamentals, you're gonna say it's way overvalued, which is true based on a PE ratio. That's why it's so high. Are they still growing in sales? So you might say, no. Well, they've been flat, so that would be a bad sign. Yes, they're doing great. That would be a good sign. Are they still making a profit? Sure. So if profits get cut, though, that's gonna dig into it. Is there actual cash coming in from their businesses? So let's say they're 6 to 7 billion in cash. So that's wonderful. What's their price compared to earnings? So if you have a 280 PE, it's $280 today for every $1 of profit. If you have a 22 PE, it's $22 today for every $1 of profit. So the PE ratio determines how much overevaluated the company is. Tesla is very overevaluated because of their future technology that's expected to perform. Right now, I would consider Tesla to be a healthy company with cash and low debt, but the growth has slammed the brakes a little bit, and the stock price is betting on everything but from robots to self-driving cars to everything that's happening soon. If you believe that Elon Musk, for example, is going to deliver in the future in the next 3 to 5 years, today's price would look, cheap. But if you don't believe it, if you think, hey, this self-driving is not going to happen for 2 years and you're not going to see robots for another 10, then the price would be considered expensive. And that's where the evaluations come in. So let's do a real life example so you understand what a PE ratio is in the world of fundamentals, right? So let's say you have a house. You pay $200,000 for the house and your yearly rent profit after all bills is 20,000 a year, right? It would take you 10 years to pay it off. That would be a PE of 10, right? So comparable to that kind of a model would be Ford. Ford has a PE of 9. They have a very similar ratio. They produce cars, they have a certain value. You put your money in, you get a dividend. House B, right? You pay $600,000 for a house. You have the same, after all bills, your rent profit is 20,000 a year. It takes you 30 years to make it back. That would be a PE of 30. And if you bought a house for 2.8 million, which would be the Tesla house, right? And you're bringing in only 10,000 a year, well, then it's going to take you 280 years to pay it off. So you're expecting that the growth is going to go up, that the money that you're getting for the rent is going to go up, that they're going to produce more income from the companies that they have under them, from the batteries, from the cars, from the FSD, from all the different technologies. That's what you're going to look for when you buy into something that has a very high PE. You're going to want to make sure that it has technology that matches it. So Tesla today's current PE is roughly about 280. It's very, very, very high. The bull case is that in 5 years, Tesla's going to make 20 times more than it's going to make now because they're going to have robo taxis, they're going to have FSD subscriptions, they're going to have robots, their battery business is going to grow, their car business is going to have a bigger market share. So PE is basically how many years is it going to take to get my money back? You know? So if you look at Tesla and you say, you know what, I believe this thing's going to start rolling out these technologies, then yeah, he can. Personally, I believe in Elon. I believe in the infrastructure that he's created. And I'm very, very bullish on Tesla. But if you're looking at it from a fundamental perspective only, and you don't believe in the future tech, or you don't want to put all your eggs in the fact that something's going to happen too far in the future, you may want to buy a company like Ford, which has a very low PE. They have very high revenue, tremendous cash, and in the short term, they're going to give you a return on their money based on what the company's at now. But do they have electric cars to the level that Tesla has? No, they actually recently failed. They're losing money on their electric car business. Do they have robots coming out the door? No, they don't. Google's PE is going up, and Google's got a lot of technology. They're running the show with AI. They haven't dominated it yet, but they're the leader. And now with their price going up, their PE ratio is pretty high too. So let's get
So,
back to Tesla.
yeah, so
What
let
is,
me get a little bit of, sorry, Tamir. Let me
no,
just,
go
I
ahead.
think we just in short, what Tamir is trying to say that fundamental versus technical. So his analogy is like this. So the fundamentals is more like the company's engine, right? What are those? The earnings, the revenue, the debt, the management, the industry trends. Those tells you how far or how the company is worth, right? That's the fundamentals. In technicals perspective, think of fundamentals like the car, like Tamir said. What kind of car are you planning to buy? Right? And then the technicals part for me, my understanding is the traffic, the road, the conditions. The technicals are like the lane ranges, the stoplights, the traffic jam, the price charts, right? The resistance, the momentum, the support that tells you when is the best time to hit the gas or when is the best time to put a brake or to change lanes, right? I think that's my analogy for for the newbies to understand what is the difference between fundamentals and technicals. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then Tamir explained about PE. So we need to explain to a lot of investors here and traders and newbies, Tamir, that what is PE? What is the purpose of looking at PE when you're trying to invest either value stocks or growth stocks like Nvidia and Tesla? So before we go into more into that, I think we should really explain why do we have to look at PE, Tamir? So if you could just explain to them short what is PE stands for, maybe they could understand, and what is the healthy PE? Like, why do we have to look at PE, Tamir?
So PE tells us the price of the company versus what we think the price is going to be in the future in a big scale compared to what it's earning right now. It's profit to earning. If you have if you have a very high PE, then the company's price for the stock is relatively high to what the company is generating, right? So,
That's
for
correct.
example, Ford has a price of $13 and their P is 9. So, what they're generating in revenue is relatively low, relatively high to what their price is. They're doing very good. Tesla is at $400, right? If you were to put Tesla at the same PE as Ford, the price would have to be um, somewhere around $20 at Tesla would put it at the same level of revenue compared to the company. So why would you buy a company that has such a high PE? Well, there are a lot of people that are fundamental investors that would not buy Tesla at this range because the PE is so high. They would say, wait a minute, I don't want to buy a company that has such a high evaluation. In New York, right? You have New York City, you have Manhattan. If you were to buy an apartment in the middle of New York City, you're going to pay so much more for that apartment than you're going to pay to buy it in Yonkers, all the way in upstate New York. And you're still got the same, bathtub and faucet, and you're going to get much smaller space and you're going to pay a much larger number. So you say, why would I do that? Because you believe that the apartment in New York City is going to go up in value much more than the apartment in Yonkers is going to go up in value, for example. So some people say, you know what? Fundamentally, why I'm not going to waste that much money on an apartment. And other people are investors. They say, you know what? I want to buy an apartment that's in the most valuable area, that has the most potential to go up, that has the most growth. So that's the comparison. Now, it's important that you take into other factors when you're buying a stock, but from a fundamental basis, let's get into the fundamentals of Tesla, and then Mary will go over the some of the fundamentals of Nvidia so you can see the comparison.
Yeah.
So Tesla
So
right now,
Go ahead,
has
Tamir.
a market cap of about 1.36 million as of November 18th. I wrote the notes
1.6
down, so I have it
billion.
for
Yeah.
you. Right? It's a little bit higher since it went up just about $10 in the last day. They have 3.3 billion outstanding shares. Their revenue is 95 billion in the last 12 months, right? And their quarterly revenue growth is 11.6%. These are all fundamental parts of the stock. They give us the meat and potatoes of what the stock is doing. Their net income is $5 billion. Their gross profit is $16.2 billion, right? So these are specific numbers. So when you're saying, I'm going to pay $400 for a stock and it's doing this, so if you divide the revenue by the price, you're going to get a PE, a trailing PE of 282 and a forward PE of 182. Now, just to put that into perspective, Ford, based on its numbers, has a forward PE of 9. That's 20 times lower than Tesla's, right? So when you say, I want to buy something on fundamentals, a company like Ford would be a fundamental buy. You'd get a dividend, the stock is stable, it's making money. You don't have to worry about the company not earning enough to support anything. Totally fine. But they may not have the growth level that Tesla has because they don't have all these different technologies on the horizon. So, what makes Tesla attractive are the technologies that it has. Definitely not the fundamentals right now. From a fundamental perspective, Tesla is weak. It's like saying, I want you to buy this, New York City company, this New York City apartment, and I want you to pay $5 million for it. And you're like, wait a minute. If I go 5 miles away, I could buy a $500,000 house, that's three times as big. And those are my fundamentals. I get more space. I got a bigger place. I got more room. I got two cars for parking. Why would I want to buy in Manhattan? So, so the reason would be Tesla would tout, well, I'm going to give you a much bigger price in the future because everybody's going to want to move here. I have a doorman, I have a this, I have a that, and they're gonna tout all their technologies, and that's going to drive the price up, which is going to make the PE extremely high. Amazon, I did a video on Amazon in October, was running at a PE of 22 to 24 in October. Also higher than Ford, but not close to where Tesla is because their revenue is much, much greater. The tech stocks tend to run at a much higher PE because they move very fast. Like Nvidia was $3 trillion not too long ago. Then it's 4 trillion, then it's 5 trillion. You know, so if its revenue is not growing at the same level of the price, its PE is going to go up, right? Getting back to Tesla, the total cash that they have is $41 billion, right? You just heard that Nvidia had a quarter of $57 billion. That's much more than Tesla.
Well, you
Way more
cannot
than Tesla.
compare, yeah, you cannot compare market cap of Nvidia to Tesla, right? It's
You
pretty
can't
much,
compare it.
yes, that's right, because Nvidia is pretty much run the whole planet. But let me just go back on the PE. So when we talk about PE, there's such thing as a healthy PE or an overvalued and undervalued, right? That's what Tamir is trying to say. So if Tamir is trying to compare Ford and Tesla, both are two different stocks in a way that the other one is a value stocks. Of course, you expect a lower PE. Tamir said 9. So a lower PE tends to be a healthy PE between 15 to 20%, 15 to 20. And then overvalued stocks like Tesla, it's always about like over 20, 30, or 40. So those are overvalued. Yes, they have higher PE, but those are growth stocks. So growth investors, they accept those type of PE because they believe that their earnings will rise quickly. Yes, growth stocks are also volatile like Tesla. Why? Because their return and reward ratio is pretty high. So they are expanding more on the future compared to Ford. So Ford is more undervalued in a way, but they do have, just like Tamir said, dividend, a slow moving train, but they've been in the market for so many years. So it's more stable compared to Tesla. And that's why we always have to pay attention to PE if you're looking at the long-term growth, right? Are you investing on the value stocks like Ford, or are you investing on the growth stocks, which is Tesla or Nvidia, right? Because they have future growth. So yes, Ford has a future growth, but if you look at the technicals of Ford, I believe the highest Ford have gone was just like 36 or 35. Please, I'm not quite sure exactly, but I know within that range. And then the highest high that we've seen lately was just $26 compared to Tesla, get you to $400. And back then, I remember Tesla being $1,200 or $900, like Nvidia too. So those are the growth stocks. So
Right.
expect high PE for growth stocks, which
N-
people is still investors, I meant, is still interested to those growth stocks. Fundamentals, in a way, is still strong to me. They're very strong. It's just two different sectors, so, but investors are still willing to pay higher PE as long as the growth stocks like Nvidia and Tesla will be exceeding and growing in the future. Make
Correct.
sense?
Now, so now
Mhm.
let's do a little quick comparison. Quick comparison from growth versus value, like Miss Mary explained perfectly, is a growth stock. Like I explained in the beginning of the video, I said it's a time machine into the future. That's what you're looking at, right? So you have, the time machine. You're saying in the future, I think this thing's going to be really, really big. Ford is a value stock. You're
Mhm.
gonna get your 5% dividend. And personally, I think Ford is at a spot where it's got like a little bit of growth in it because it's at such a low price from where its all-time high has been and where the market could go with it because of interest rates, being high, and they sell more cars. People buy more cars when they have lower interest rates. So I see growth potential in Ford, but it's what you call a value stock. It'll give you a fixed dividend that you'll get based on the price that you pay. You'll get it every quarter. You get nice value for your money. You put your money in the bank, you get 1%. You put your money in Ford, you get 5%. And maybe you get a little growth too. But with Tesla, let's go over why Tesla has such a high PE and why investors and retail are pumping money into this name, why I am bullish on it. Not that I'm giving you financial advice, but I'll tell you the reasons why I love Tesla. I wrote an article on it, I've done a few videos. Tesla's overview of products. I wrote an article called Why You Shouldn't Bet Against Elon Musk. Because I think this guy every few years comes up with more stuff just on the table right now from his approved compensation package. He has to hit 12 unbelievable levels of growth for the company. Now, if anybody doubts that he'll do it, he already did it once and got awarded a $54 billion reward. This time, he is getting a $1 trillion reward in shares. That's three times his net worth. Why? Let's go over the products. So they have cars. Everybody knows the Model 3, the Model Y, the Model S, the Model X, the Cybertruck, which I almost ordered but decided not to. They have now the Tesla Semi, which is going to be an EV semi truck. On the energy side, they have the Powerwall, which is like home battery storage. They have the Mega Pack, which is big batteries for factories and power plants. They have the solar panels and solar roofs, which is a whole nother level
Which,
of
by the
growth.
way, is not advisable for realtors. They're very expensive. They're really not
Agreed.
that reliable in a way. If one panel broke, that's it. You're screwed, right?
Extremely expensive, too.
Yeah.
On the energy side, which is a big part of their business, by the way, why they boomed in September and October. They have the power wall. I mean, they have the supercharger network, right? It's a fast EV charging station. They have self-driving technology, right? Which is the new thing, and they're at the head of the food chain with that. They're cheaper than Waymo, and they have a bigger range right now. You drive through where I live in Israel, in America, and many other places, and you see Tesla charging stations. I have yet to see any other company's charging stations. They exist, but they're so much lower on the infrastructure. Tesla has, you know, bases everywhere around the world, factories everywhere around the world. Their robo taxi service is already starting to go out, depending on which state you're in and what regulations are in each country or state. Tesla's already rolling out robo taxi. They have insurance, car insurance for Tesla owners. They have used car and repair services, which, by the way, if anyone doesn't know this about the car business, my father is in the car business. Most car companies make their money on repairs and services. That's why you don't see many new car companies popping up everywhere because there is not a whole lot of money in the new used car business and the new car business the way it is by just selling cars and making a profit. You need to have residual revenue. They're always selling you the warranty. They're always adding something in there to get your residual money and income, right? So with Tesla, they have an entire service that's going to drive you around. That's their bread and butter. And they have a whole award to Elon to hit a certain level of FSD subscriptions. We're going to get into in a minute. On the automotive side, $75 billion comes from selling vehicles like the Model Y. On the energy side, $10 billion comes from batteries and solar with a much cheaper infrastructure. And it's growing very fast. It increased 67% from last year. Now, that's a growth stock, right? Ford didn't increase 67% in their growth. It just doesn't do that, right? That's a value stock. Services and charging stations have over $10 billion for superchargers and FSD sales. I saw someone wrote SpaceX. SpaceX is not necessarily connected to Tesla directly in the same way. We'll get into that another time, but I'll put a video out for that.
And
In
PiPhone too
20,
is not, oh, I'm sorry, Tamir. Is it PiPhone is just also another concept, not yet a plan? It's not yet
it's
set up.
not working. It's not, nothing's rolled out yet.
Yep.
He uses it as a tactic to say, look, I can provide this in any country. I could provide access to the satellites and all that stuff to promote his brand. But for the most part, SpaceX is not a technology you can, jump into right now and subscribe to, right? You can buy a car, you can get FSD driving, you can get a cyber cab in some places. You're going to be able to get a Tesla Semi soon. You can buy the batteries. You can, if you have a factory, you can run it. You can get solar panels for your house. All of these things are technologies that Tesla has and is coming out. I'm not going to get into every micro detail, but that's the big bet for the future, that these things are going to grow and you're betting on them growing, right? If you don't believe they're going to grow to the scale that Tesla is at, you might say, you know what, I think they're going to grow a little bit, but I don't think Tesla's going to go to $1,000. Then you don't love the company from the PE ratio and the fundamental and the growth perspective. You want to buy something that you believe in. So let's get into why I would say Tesla is going to reach in that direction, right? So his 12 tranche plan goes like this. His first level he has to reach is a $2 trillion market cap, which we are about 50% away from. So to put that into perspective, if Tesla's trading at $400 at 1.35 trillion, it would need to be
Two to 2000.
$600 to reach 2 trillion, right? So
Oh,
when Tesla reaches $600, he's gonna get 35.53 million in shares. That's his first level, right? Then the second level is going to be at 2.5 billion. So another quarter higher than that. So when it reaches $750 a share, then he's going to get awarded another 35 million. Now, what does he need to do to reach these two levels? The first level, he needs 20 million vehicles delivered with 10 million active FSD subscriptions and a $2 trillion evaluation, right? So that's his goal. That tells you where Elon's going with the company. If you don't see these things roll out, he's not going to reach that goal. And is going to become bearish from the growth perspective. The second level is 500,000 Optimus robots delivered. So his second, goal after he gets all these cars on the road to drive by themselves, which, by the way, they drive themselves off the factory to
Yep.
the dealerships on their own. It's pretty unbelievable. He wants they want 100,000 robo taxis in operation and 500,000 Optimus robots delivered, which I'm buying one of them for sure. The level 3 is $3 trillion and 1 million Optimus robots. Mary, maybe I'll share my screen and I'll put this list up. Maybe that'd be
Go
good.
ahead. Go ahead.
Let's see. Hold on a second, guys.
Well, I thought the pay package, that $1 trillion is the all or nothing, isn't it? It's within that 10 years growth, isn't it?
It's not all or nothing. He unlocks 35.3 million shares at each level.
Mm.
So if he doesn't hit that level, he doesn't get the shares. So
Okay. So that's what I
yeah,
read
there was a lot of
against them as
confusion
a
around it,
wrong.
and there's been a
Yeah.
lot of
I thought it
discussion.
was just all or nothing. He's not going to get paid during that time of, he has to do 1 million robot taxi, 1 million humanoid um
Right.
Optimus, and then 20 million EVs
So yeah, I'm
within
going to
that
share
10
my
years.
screen so you guys
Go
can
ahead.
see the.
And we'll go over technicals after Tamir talk about that. And if it ever happens, he's going to be the first trillionaire CEO.
You guys see this?
Yes,
Can you see the list, Mary?
I could definitely see it.
All right, so these are the levels, right? So I don't want to have to rattle all of them off so slowly and read them, but I printed this so that you guys would have it. I wrote this down from Tesla. You got right here, level one that we just discussed, right? $2 trillion, cumulative 20 million vehicles delivered, 10 million FSD subscriptions. Then when the evaluation of the stock, when it reaches 2.5 trillion, 500,000 Optimus robots, 100,000 robo taxis in operation, right? Each time he unlocks 35 million shares. At the level 3, they call it a tranche. The stock has to be worth $3 trillion, right? That's more than double where it is now. That's like somewhere around $900 stock. So at that point, Elon Musk will have had $106 million roughly in Tesla shares that he can't sell them for 5 years, but he gets voting rights with those shares because Elon Musk's leverage play was, look, I'll do this elsewhere with my private company. If I'm going to do this with Tesla, I want to ultimately own 25% of the company. That's his goal. And in order to do that, he needs to have shares of the stock. So he gets awarded these shares to hit these levels. So he says, I'm going to make you guys a lot of money. And you buy my stock, I'm going to make you a lot of money. But I want this as my reward. I don't want a salary, overvalued salary. I want to deliver for you the stock at these levels, and this is what I'm going to get for it. And as you see here, level 3, 1 million Optimus robots, yada, yada. Level 4, 3.5 trillion. Expand the FSD to 20 million subs, right? Level 5, $4 trillion. Vehicles, level 6. Now, here we go. Level 7, right, is the size of where NVIDIA is right now. If he gets to level 7, Tesla will be the size that NVIDIA is right now. It's kind of hard to imagine considering, it's so far away, but it was also hard to imagine NVIDIA. I remember when it was at 2 trillion and when it was at 3 trillion. And I remember Apple when it was at 1 trillion and 2 trillion. And people were saying, there's no way it's going to go up another trillion. And now now there's so many $1 trillion companies all of a sudden. The Mag 7, they're all $1 trillion companies, multi-trillion dollar in some cases, right? So it can happen. But what happened that NVIDIA went up so much? Well, what did they deliver? They delivered a superior chip to everybody else. They delivered super fast, chips that work for everything from AI to the most common use. Everybody has children out there, or maybe you guys are young and you play video games. All of those graphics cards, all the good ones are NVIDIA. You got AMD too, right? But NVIDIA has the market share. So they delivered on a small scale to the retail and on a large scale to companies like Tesla and other companies that buy their chips, that buy their cards, that buy their technology to power and run high complex stuff that was 1,000 times faster. I remember when Nvidia came out with a chip that was 1,000 times faster than the next highest level chip. So of course their stock is going to go through the roof because now they got the market share. So Tesla's trying to do the same thing. They're saying, look, we're going to sell our cars and they're going to drive them, they're going to drive around for you, and we're going to have robo taxis that are going to come pick you up, and you're going to have subscriptions. And you know what? You're not going to have to work as much because you're going to buy one of my Optimus robots and it's going to walk around your house and do your laundry and knead the dough and do a whole bunch of other tasks that you may not want to do on your own. And believe me, this is the future. I've been following robots for 40 years now. My brother used to make them, and they just didn't have the technology they have today with lighter metals and being able to conduct things at a quicker pace and being able to have them memorize stuff. Let me give you an example of where an Optimus robot is so much more superior. I hate to say this, than a regular worker. Let's say you have an Optimus robot and you train it to do something for your job. You train it to pick up boxes and put them in a truck, right? And you bought it, it's a one-time fee. It goes into your factory and it picks up the boxes and it loads it into the truck. And it took you a month or two, 3 months to train it properly. Now it's got all of the training in its head, right? So then what are you gonna do then? Then you could buy another robot and it will instantly be able to do the exact same thing. Not like when you hire a worker and they got to train another worker, and maybe that other worker's better, maybe that other worker's worse, maybe that other worker is, not be able to do things on the same level. Maybe you got to fire it. You got to go through different, 5 different workers to get to that one worker that works. You're not going to have to do that with the robots. So it's a whole nother level. Now, if the robots come out and they fail miserably, like you see all those memes where the robots are walking and falling down the stairs and they can't lift anything and they can't do anything, that's going to be a problem. And it's going to, affect negatively on the stock. Hold on, I want to unshare my screen here and get back to this. So in a nutshell, that's how you explain a growth company, and why you're buying into a company and expecting the evaluation to go up. So if you are right now looking at a company, you're looking at Tesla, you're looking at Amazon, you're looking at Google. How does Josh say that Google is going to be, so high? Why does he think that the growth for Google is going to be so great? Well, he's basing it on the sector that it's in and the technology that it's producing and how it's going to scale and who its competitors are and how much market share it's going to get. And when he's looking at Google, he's saying Google's got dominance. You know, he's saying that this is what they're doing. Same thing I said with Nvidia at the beginning of the year. I was very, very I still am, but like I was super bullish at the beginning of the year when Nvidia was $92 to $100. I'm like, this is unbelievable value. And some people were like, well, they just hit a certain $1 trillion mark. I don't know. Are they going to really double? Are they going to really double? I said, are you kidding me? They're making more money every quarter than the Roman Empire did, in its whole lifetime. And that's just to put that into perspective. Nvidia can buy pieces of every company that it likes every month. It could buy into all these different companies, which it does, and create new partnerships, which it does, hence pushing the evaluation higher as these companies that it buys into do well. Additionally, if they don't do well, or if Nvidia goes down, like you saw, all the companies that were collaborating with Nvidia also went down at a much larger scale. Kind of like the way Bitcoin works with the altcoins, right? When the king falls, all the little ones fall harder. Tesla in is not a car company. It sells cars, but their evaluation is not from cars. If you were basing fundamentals on cars, you would never buy Tesla. It would be a horrible investment. You might as well buy Ford and get nice value. But from a growth perspective, does Ford produce batteries? Does Ford have robots coming off the factory? Does Ford have self-driving technology? And if they do, are they going to get it from Tesla? right? Or are they going to get it from Waymo? Where are they going to get the self-driving if they install it? So these are the things you got to think about as the company's progressing. This is the news part of it that I mentioned in the beginning, when you have to follow the news with the fundamentals and the technicals, right? All of these things matter because they're all based on what's going on around that stock. You know, a few months ago, Elon Musk had a tiff with the president and the stock dropped 15% in a day. It was ridiculous because you thought he's doing great with the president. He's in his pocket. Everything's great. You know, his car company's working. He's ahead of Doge, and then all of a sudden, all of that stops. So that creates uncertainty. Wait, what if he's not supported? And then the EV credits ended, right? You had EV credits that you were getting on your tax return if you bought a car, and now they're no longer there. Now you can't get that credit. And he's fighting with the president. So what happened to the stock? It went down, right? So you got different things going on here. If you're looking at a stock from a technical perspective, from a fundamental perspective, right? You're going to look at something like Ford and say, this is a value add for me. You're going to look at something like Nvidia when it has good earnings, like it just did, right? It reported record earnings, reported more than what was expected. If Nvidia would have reported less than what was expected, it would have went down, and a lot of names would have went down with it, most likely. Luckily, for all of those that were suffering the 4-day bloodbath, Nvidia had great earnings, and we're all sigh of relief. Not out of the woods yet, but happy to see a little bit of relief in the anguish that we experienced of the red market. Unless you were shorting the crap out of it, right?
Let's go over a technical first before we
I
go
was
with
just gonna say,
NVIDIA.
Mary, you should take
Yep.
over for technicals.
Oh boy, Tamir likes to talk. This is your show, Tamir. This is really your show. I'm a technical gal.
It's all good. I love your technicals more than I love to hear myself talk.
I'm a technical gal, so I talk less, but this is your show, dude. I'll be watching it. I love the fundamentals. I learn a lot. But anyways, let's go over technicals for Tesla. Everybody
All
says,
right,
oh,
guys.
Tesla's going down, Tesla's going down. So far for me, if we look at the monthly chart, we finally just have a pullback on the monthly chart. This rally starting from 288 rally all the way to $411. This is just a short pullback. If I measure this pullback or called retracement, this may be about 50% because I'm looking around this as a key level of support. So even if Tesla push more to 365 psychological support, which the real support lies on the 367, 357. So if Tesla even pull back to that level, it's still a good buying opportunity for me. So let's measure the pullback after the rally of 388. Let me see that. And I guarantee you, maybe about 50% only. Yeah, pretty much close.
Nice.
You guys could see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So a rally and then we pull back and it's the 50% Fibonacci. It's a good pullback and we have a golden ratio, which is 61%, right? The golden ratio is when the after the rally we retrace that 61%. It's a buying opportunity, even on the 50%. So 381, pretty much a good support, and it actually happens to touch 382. So when we say support, it's like a floor that there's a possibility of rebound, right? It's gonna bounce from there. And 381, and it happens to be 382. It's okay. It's okay because we treat support as a range or an area, not just a single trend line, right? So 381 is still a good pullback for Tesla. But if I measure this, if this is really the bottom, if that is a pullback for Tesla, how far Tesla could go or could rally after this pullback? Let's say in a perfect world that we are over with the bloodbath, right? And then it's time for us to move on and be happy with our trade and see how far it could go. And with $1 trillion paid pay package of Elon, we could see Tesla hitting. Well, first we have the 495 or 488, 495, 565 to 614. It's possible, right? What if it doesn't happen, Mary? Where can it go? Now let's go take a look at the weekly chart. So on the weekly chart, we have a double top, or we call it the M pattern right here. And we have a neckline. We could put a neckline here, or we could put a neckline here. This is actually my neckline of my M pattern, which happens to be a bearish signal, right? We did have a breaking candle. We retouched that neckline. So if we are going to treat this, today's Wednesday, excuse me. If we're going to look at this candle, this is not complete yet. We have like 2 more days to complete. If we stay on this range and then we ended up having a hammer, an inverse hammer, which is a possible reversal to the upside, right? But it's not confirmed yet. So it's too early to predict that, hey, this could be an early signal for Tesla to go up. Not yet. And using the daily chart, this happens to be the support. And if you're my students, I'm going to teach you that, well, you guys are all my students basically, because you've been coming to my Sunday class. I always teach you guys that half of the big bullish candle always serve as a pullback. And this is actually a perfect reaction or price action that it happens to be half of this candle. So this will be your first support. If we cannot hold, if this is like this, after the M pattern, break out of the neckline, retesting of the neckline, there is a possibility that we may test this half of the candle. And if we cannot hold, we are definitely retesting the 370 level of support. That's just a bearish scenario, okay? So the bullish scenario for this is, hey, we have reached the bottom. We are now trying to break out of this 412 resistance, which happens to be this candle, 411 to 413. We are now using this big candle to serve as a resistance. So go draw your line. Your support will be that 411 resistance, local resistance, 411, 413 level, and your top resistance will be lies on that 443, 436 right here. So draw your trend line in there. But remember, before reaching the top of this candle, we need to fill at least half of this bearish candle, which could be like 423, 424. Yep, 423 to 424. So half of this candle. So in order for you guys to understand the simple support or resistance, I teach my students to always look back to your left and try to use the biggest candle. This is one of the big candle, but this is lower than this big candle, so I'm going to use it as a support or resistance. This will serve as my guide. Where is the resistance or the ceiling could hit, right? So right now, there is no possible reversal yet. It's just right now, it's just teasing us. The whole market is teasing us with the NVIDIA beats, massive beats,
Massive.
massive beats, 57 billion dollars revenue increase with a moving forward guidance of what 65 billions. The CEO said they're expecting at least on the fourth quarter to be 65, right? Tamir, 65 or 61 billion dollars. Those two numbers. Okay, so let's go back here. So what candle is this? Tamir, do you happen to know what candle is this? So this
Sorry, I
is a
was,
spinning top.
yeah,
This is a
spinning top.
spinning top, right? And what spinning top is simply as what? Is an indecision, right? Indecision. So we really have no direction to the upside or to the downside. And here's the technique with that. Oh, I was just going to tell you guys, but before I say it, the easiest way to trade a doji, a spinning top, is very easy. When the market opens tomorrow, if it opens above the body of this spinning top or the doji, which happens to be 403, let's say 403.99, round it up to 404. So if we open above 404, this will be bullish, which your first resistance will be the top of the wick, which is 411. After the 411, we're going to test this big candle. Then we got the 423 and 425. So tomorrow, if it opens above 403, it's going to be bullish. But the market is already pumping. It's already 410. So we are already most likely tomorrow, if this little bull run or this little bit of rally continues tomorrow, then we are going up and retest that 423, 424. Currently, right now, it is already above 404 and it is 410. So it's looking good. It is looking good. So resistance really lies on that 423. I'm just giving you guys a local resistance, okay? Let me give you, so you can take a screenshot. I know I have some resistance in here. Where is it? Give me 1 second, guys. Oh, right there. So these are my, this was local support before because this was here. So once the support surpasses, it could always becomes a resistance. So some of these now are not local support. So where are we? So we're right here as your resistance now. And then the second one is here, third, fourth, and fifth. Okay. So let's go back to the daily
Let me
again.
just reiterate on that because a few people were asking what was resistance now becomes support, right? So when something is breaks through a resistance and then it doesn't go back down, it then becomes the support level and it's looking for the next leg up, for the next resistance level. So she's pointing out what it broke through and where it's supporting at 403 and change. She was mentioning on the charts, right? It broke through that. Right now in the aftermarket, it's at 410.50. If it holds when market opens, it's going to aim for the next level. As long as it's keep the momentum keeps going, it's going to be looking for the next level of resistance. Sorry to interrupt.
No, 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 you're right. Absolutely right. So break, once the resistance break out, right? So now we have a breaking level, right? We have a breakout level. So once the resistance break out of that level, there's the tendency to go back, and that resistance now will become a support. It's like this. Let me explain it to you guys. Ooh, let me go charge my battery real quick. Just real quick. So for example, this is the resistance right here, right? And this break through the resistance, and there's a possibility that it could retest that resistance. So if this was a resistance before, this now become a support. And guess what? That is one way of a buying opportunity. One way to enter a trade is when a resistance becomes a support, because we expect price action in here. We expect to bounce and react from that resistance before now becomes a support. That is one way to buy a trade or to open a position, right? So if there's a candles here and then it breaks through, that resistance now is broken. And then if it goes back and retest it, that resistance becomes a support and it becomes a buying opportunity. Okay, so it's the same thing with VWAP, right? When you guys were in my live trading, that's the example. There's a VWAP here, right? This serves as a dynamic resistance. What does that mean? Dynamic resistance means that it changes over time. When the price continues to go down or up over time, that dynamic resistance either go down, continue to change over time. But it serves as a hurdle or a shackle, right? You cannot move up until you break out of that shackle. Like think of it like an elephant, right? An elephant has a bunch of shackles. Think of it like your MAs or your VWAP. You need to get rid of those shackles. You need to surpass those resistance for it to move higher, right? So right now, so let's say this is a VWAP and this VWAP turns to be a dynamic resistance, right? Once you break through that VWAP, it becomes what? Now you're free to move because there's no more resistance, there's no more ceiling, there's no more hurdles, there's no more shackles. So when I give you guys technicals and I say there's going to be a little hurdle, it means there's an EMA associated with that level. Or especially if this is going to be a strong support or resistance, it normally what a 200 EMA, because every time we touch a 200 EMA, there's always price actions. There's always tends to resist to break through that 200 MAs. Okay, so let me just delete that. So currently right now, Tesla, so Tesla support lies on this green candle, which happens to be half of this candle on the 4-hour chart, right? So we need to break through that and test the top level of that candle. So there's really high likely we could reach that 423 tomorrow. And by the way, tomorrow I have a live trading pre-morning huddle tomorrow. So we'll go ahead and take a look at Tesla and Nvidia. So I'm really interested in Nvidia. So we might take a look at Tesla and Nvidia tomorrow mornings for pre-morning huddle. It's 9 o'clock a.m. Tamir is more than welcome to come. Airtuan, hopefully Airtuan's going to be there, and Tom. So the three gangs, hopefully they will be able to be with me. Okay,
I
so
definitely try.
no worries, no worries. So let's go over that. So this will be your first hurdle, right? We're
So you
not
guys
even,
understand what you were saying about the support, the resistance, and the different levels that we're at?
yeah. Okay, so once we reach that 423, 424, guess what? It's gonna have a little bit of hurdle in here on this level. Not too big, not too hard to break. It could just break through it. But the real resistance after that 428 could be like 432. So tomorrow we could definitely take a look at Tesla for a very quick scalping for options. I know Tamir is a big whale, so he could make a couple of thousands tomorrow.
I love
Then
to scalp.
437 all the way to 441, psychological resistance about 445, 441, 442, right? So those are your levels for Tesla to watch tomorrow, right? So actually, I do see a patterns in here, and Tom, Armpat fans, I taught him, and he likes patterns, and I think he's becoming like the way he trades or the way he look at charts is by patterns, and I'm a pattern trader. So if you look at Tesla, what Tamir, let's go teach Tamir some
Teach
technicals,
me,
right?
teach me.
So we do have a W pattern in here. And remember, don't expect a perfect pattern, okay? Because the market is not perfect. Market is always noisy. Market is always noisy. Noisy and messy, right? So this is a W pattern. And a W pattern, it looks like this. A W pattern is bullish because it serves like, hey, there's a double top. But Mary, that's not a double top. Technical speaking, it's sort of in a way. This is a perfect world with a W, right? And when it's break out of that, it's bullish. And your first take profit level normally is the second leg. This is your leg one, and this is your leg two. And normally your take profit level is always the leg two, right? So it's this pattern right now where currently Tesla is forming is this pattern with a crooked second shoulder, right? It's a bullish pattern, not fully confirmed. You need to wait for a confirmation to enter this trade for a swing in case you're waiting for a full confirmation. So you need to break out of this level to confirm. There's a little bit slight of hurdle here, but it looks like it's going to be easily be broken. And then your top resistance that you could take is on this level, the 444 to 445. The second is all the way here, which is, I think this is 465. Let's double check that. We'll give you guys a 456 to 453. So right here. Okay. And Tesla is very volatile. It could move $20, $30 in a day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is not for the for
Very,
you.
it's not for beginners, very dangerous to trade,
That's
guys.
right.
Tesla is, Josh trades it. I trade it. A lot of people trade it that are on a more pro options or stock trading level. It moves very fast. You can lose your shirt in five
Yeah.
minutes on Tesla.
Yeah,
So,
but that's the reason why when they trade with me, Tamir, I always want them to be in the money. There's a two different ways to trade Tesla, right? We have out of the money, which is your premium is affordable, cheaper, right? But your theta is definitely higher compared to in the
yep.
money, right? Then in the money, yes, your premium is higher, but on the in the money, part is in the money trade, excuse me, if you buy that options, it's cheaper in a way that your theta, it's not cheaper, it's higher, it's
It's
expensive.
higher, but you get the stock for a cheaper price. I actually agree with you. I buy a lot of stock in the money. When I buy leaps, instead of buying them out of the money, hoping that it's going to reach a price, I'll pay the extra premium often on a stock like Tesla, and I'll buy it in the money. Like if I was looking to buy a 3 month leap on Tesla, I'd probably pick up something like the $400 price or the 395 price, whatever was at the last resistance levels or average between the two of them. So if it was at 392 and 402. You average the two, you get something like 397.50. And that's probably where I would buy it because it's a safe number. It's below support. It's
Mhm.
below support and below the previous resistance that it broke through. So the it's you have better odds that it's not going to go back to that level, and you're not going to lose so much on the time portion of it as time goes by. And if it goes up, you're getting dollar for dollar. When your stock is out of the money, let's say you go buy the 440 Tesla option, saying, you know what, I think it's going to go up two more levels to her 443, and you buy the 440s. You're already out of the money by, you know, $30 where it is now. So if it doesn't go up there, every day that goes by, you're losing value on the contract for time. So if it's a short term one, it might only cost you, $5 for the contract, $500, $5 a share. But you know what? If it only goes up $10 during the week, that contract's going to be worth zero, right? And if you buy it 2 weeks out at the same thing, if it goes up $20, it's going to be worth zero. So you have to be very, very careful with out of the money options. Personally, if you're new to options, only buy in the money options, please. If you're scalping, only buy in the money options, please. They say this, Josh and Mike say this all the time when they're doing the SPY. They say, as close to the price, $1 above or below, okay, but right there is close to the price. Because what's going to happen is you're getting into the trade and you want to get out of the trade. And just like Mary has her resistance and support levels that she's showing you and how she gets there on Tesla in the macro scale, when you're scalp trading, it's a very micro scale. He's saying this is going to happen today. This is going to happen in the next 15 minutes. We're looking at 5 minute candles. And his scalp setups are built on those 5 minute candles. If it breaks 601, it goes down to 599. If it breaks 599, it's 597. It's the same concept, but on a much more micro scale. And you have to be very quick on the trigger. So if you're out of the money, you could be done. If you buy a 660 SPY call and the price is at 660 and it goes to 662 or 558, you're within there. But if you decide to buy the 670 call and it goes up to 663 and slows down towards the end of the day, you just lost all your money. So be very careful.
Yep. So for the EMAs, my last resort is always my 21 EMA. I teach my students we have 8, 13, 21, or you could use 9 and 20. Either or, there's no right and wrong using those EMAs. I've just been using 8, 13, 21 for so many years, and I don't want to change my technique. You're more than welcome to use the 8, 13, 21, or if you're using 9 or 20 EMA, please do so. Okay, you don't need to change it. So for me, as long as the candles remains above 21 EMA, especially on the weekly, is still in the bullish setup, right? There's actually a strategy for this where the investors or long term, if their candles fall below 21 EMA on the daily, they'll just exit out their position, even if this is a long term, just to lock in profit, right? So my 21 EMA always serve as my last line of defense. Why? Because after you break that 21 EMA, guess what's going to be your next dynamic support? 50 MAs. That will be your second. This is your last. That will be excuse me, after your 21 EMA, your next line of defense will be the 50 MA. And one of my favorite students, Jonas, it doesn't matter how far those candle move away from the 50 MAs, somehow it will always go back and touch your 50 EMAs or MAs. Okay, so they have 50 MAs has this special gravitational force. I think you guys have been hearing me this like every time we go live because I just want you guys to keep
It's
it.
so important, and you should have it on your charts, guys. You should
Have to
have those
remember it.
lines on your charts.
But I don't want you guys to have all these trend lines all the time or watching that. Okay. The reason why
EMAs, the
I do
EMAs.
it, I do it because I would like to show it to you. Okay. So right now, this week candle respected our 21 EMA, which is still bullish. It's still bullish so far. Yes, we have the M pattern here, but that 21 EMA is serving as my last line of defense. So far, so good. But let's see if we fail the 200 MAs. Well. The green one is actually my 50 MA. So we did fall below 50 MA. So guess what? This 433, it's gonna be a little bit of a hurdle. So if you're using your 50 MAs, it's going to be a little bit of hurdle. It's you see how this reacted? You see how it reacts? It always react. What is this happen? It went back and tried to touch it and it just failed to do so. Okay. So watch your 50 MAs on your daily chart because there's going to be a little bit of price action or rejections in there before it breaks through. Not unless the momentum is super strong that it could just break through it, right? My 200 MAs is right here. So we're still okay. We have, look, when the 50 MA cross over 200, what do you call that? This is one of the technical analysis that you guys need to learn. So if the 50 MAs crosses above 200 MAs, that is a bullish signal. And do you know what does that mean, Tamir? That is called a golden cross.
Cross
Yep. A golden cross, especially if you've seen on the daily, is bullish, right? And then a death cross is what?
is the opposite.
Is the opposite. And that's when your 50 MA crosses below your 200 MAs, and that is bearish, right? In order for the bullish structure to remain bullish, you want all your MAs to be aligned. If you're using your 50, 100, 200, that should be aligned in order like this. 50, 100, 200. If that is aligned and the candles is above those MAs, this is still considered to be in a bullish setup. Is still bullish. No EMAs are had crossed to each other. They are just fully aligned and order. It means that is a strong momentum to the upside. And then once you start seeing 50 MAs and crossing on the 100 MAs, that's when we're like, oh no, there's gonna have a possible pullback and retesting of the 50 MAs and then retesting of the 100 MAs and retesting of the 200 MAs, right? So those are, you need to pay attention to your MA. So if you're going to be a long-term investor, you need to make sure all those 50, 100, 200 are all aligned.
Now, guys, this is exactly what Josh is looking at as well. You know, a lot of people said, "Oh my gosh, he's a magician." He's just very good at clearly delivering the information. Often, when you see a stock, like when we were talking about SoFi or we were doing Tesla a week ago, it's all based on these same levels. If it breaks this level, then it's going to the downside. If it breaks this level, we're going to see this number. And it's all based on these MAs. I follow Tesla a lot. And when I put out the video on Tesla, I said the same thing. I said if it breaks 427, which was what the 50 was, a few weeks ago, then we're headed down to the 414, 450, 15 range, which I was actually on a live stream with Miss Mary, the wonderful chart queen, who
Mm.
was quoting it as we were in the live. It's going down to this level, to that level. And we watched Tesla go from level to level all the way down to a very, very strong support in the 390 range. And then later in the day, it actually tapped the stronger line of support and the much lower level in the 380s, and it bounced off of it. So somebody said in the chat earlier, it can't get to 366. It's not possible. Well, if it breaks the support level, then yeah, it starts to free fall to the next level. So if you're looking at the chart right now, just not to give you an exact number, just to show you just off of the lines that she has on the screen very easily. You got 370 over there, then you got 383, 396, 410, right? You got these different levels. They're based on where the price knocked, what door the price knocked on for a period of time, right? The 20 EMA are the 20 is 20 days. It's the moving average for the last 20 days, what the average was. Then they got the 50 days, and then you got the 200 days. So if something breaks a 200-day moving average and it goes below it, that's not good. That's showing you that it's going right back to where the price was a while ago. That's telling you nobody wants it, right? That's very bear territory. And similarly, like she said, if the price crosses above, if you see the 50 crossing above, right? That's the golden cross. That's telling you, hey, we're bulls now. We're ready to go. We're moving up. Everybody's excited. We no longer care about that other level. We're done with that support level. We're not even looking at that support level anymore. And when you break through a resistance level and it goes up to the next one, that resistance level now becomes support, right? So, we're sitting around 403 and change as the last resistance level that it just broke through. Well, we'll see. If in the morning we wake up and Tesla's, above 410 or 408 or 4011 and it's above that, well, our support is that 403 that was resistance. And our next level of resistance, as she pointed out, is around 423, which is where Tesla's headed. And if it's trading within that zone, then it's range bound, right? It's trading within the range. It's trading within that range. If it's trading within the opening price, the highest and the lowest price of the day in pre-market, then it's trading within the chop. It's just not moving. It's not breaking up. It's not breaking down. It's staying within its daily range, right? So all of these things tell you, and she's much better at presenting it than I am, but all of these things tell you when you should enter a trade. I entered trades early for years without knowing this stuff. For years. It's part of the reason why I joined, stock discords to begin with, in my career, because I wanted to know, I wanted to learn, and it's really important. You got to get out of your way and out of your bad habits, which is some of the things that I teach, and you got to learn to just follow the charts sometimes. Maybe you have another piece of information outside of the charts that helps you believe that something's going to break out of a pattern, and you might, expect it to come and you might want to get ahead of a move, but that's not technicals. That's not trading with technicals, right? When you're trading with technicals, this is what you're doing. You're saying, oh my gosh, I am sitting at this level of support. I'm seeing at this level of resistance. And when it breaks through, you're ready to go. And guess what? We all make this mistake where we let our emotions get involved and we go, oh my gosh, Elon Musk was just on the TV. Holy crap, Nvidia just went up. I'm so bullish on Tesla. Calls. I'm buying calls right now. Calls, 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 calls. And you know what? Maybe you hit it and you think you're so smart, but that's not technicals. And it could flip on you in a dime. Mary helped me the other day. We were in a class. I went in. I saw a pattern. I bought Tesla. And she was calling out, well, you should get out here. And even though it went higher and I ended up making a lot of money on the trade, if I got out at her level and got back in at her other level, I would have made more money. I would have hit it at the right resistance and support level while it's going up and down. So that's the safest way to trade. You know, don't trade too crazy. You want to trade with the technicals. If you don't have it on your charts, unless it confuses you, I recommend everybody gets, the 9 EMA, the 20, the 50, and the 200 put on their charts, whether it's in TradingView or whatever other software you're using. You should really have those things on there, and you should have the opening range, and in there as well, so you can see where the stock is going. And when you're charting with Miss Mary, she will be following these lines.
Yep. Thank you, Tamir. Um, but the reason why you succeed there because you have a very high tolerance. You have very high tolerance, Tamir, by the way. So others will be tap out, or they would have at least take profit to the level that I give. But remember, I told you God gave you chances, and yes, God indeed love you. He went all the way up to the roof. Okay, so let's go over NVIDIA now. So NVIDIA, I think we went over this multiple times on the Sunday class. So we do have this ascending channel for NVIDIA. Nothing is broken to the upside or to the downside, right? And yes, indeed, this is a bearish signal. But what I always teach you guys is what? Treat the pattern as neutral. Yes, it could give you like a bullish conviction or a bearish conviction, but as long as there is no breakout or breakdown, there is no pattern confirmed. Okay. So let's take a look at candles by candles, okay? So these are my levels. I think I did a short video about NVIDIA before, and these are our levels of support. I said they're daily key support. What does daily key support means? Because I put daily key support because this level here on between 183, 182, 178, 180, 182, these were resistance before, right? And when the resistance, what Tamir was trying to explain to you guys, I'm telling it again, once the resistance break out of that level, it will now become a support. And guess what? That support will serve as a buying opportunity. So if you guys just know that the key support is a possible buying opportunity, definitely people will be buying at this level. Yes, but it's a bit scary, Mary, because of the earnings. I totally agree. I totally understand because when earnings comes, your technicals becomes invalidated. It fundamentals doesn't follow technicals. Technicals have to follow fundamentals. Okay.
Right.
So you could have all the bullish scenario, but if the fundamentals hit, forget about your technicals. Forget about all your bullish bias or your convictions of this thing is gonna go high. I don't know what happened. Fundamentals. Fundamentals kills our technical. So this is the same scenario here. But if this is a technical scenario, if the resistance becomes a support, it's a buying opportunity. So let's say there's no earnings, right? There's no earnings. It's just reacting from here. This is a bunch of rejections, right? Rejections 178, 180, 179. Yes, they are in the support range. And this is a bunch of rejections, guys. When I say price action, it's the wick. It's the wick or bullish candle or bearish candle. And what are those? Those are the elephant right here, elephant candle right here. Those are the big ones. Those are reacting to your level. It means either there's a lot of buying pressure in there that it's so big that buyers just comes in and there's really no sellers, especially if there's no wick, right? There's really no sellers in there, just pure buyer, even high premium. Investors are buying, retailers are buying. By the way, the big elephant bar, retailers doesn't make this happen, okay? Us are the retailers. This doesn't happen. Even Tamir could buy all the shares. Tamir cannot create this big bar of volume, okay? So no. So even if we combine Airtuan, well, Airtuan, I miss you, Airtuan. I hope you could be here. But even if Airtuan and Tamir and Josh buys Tesla, they will not create this bar or these candles. Okay, so they were just still little tiny specks on the market world. So if you see this type of reactions, it's saying, oh, Mary said when there's a wick, there's a reaction, that's a price action, that's a rejection. Yes, indeed. So let's say you know that this was a key support. Even if you take a risk, because all trade carries risk, you would have made money. Even if you buy, let's say, I'm gonna go buy a 182 or 179, I'll buy it. What is currently right now? 195. That would be like more than $10
Right.
by just looking at technicals, right? If we're just invalidating the fundamentals in a way, right? But the reason why this thing is going up because of fundamentals. But that's what I'm just trying to tell you guys. So knowing when it becomes a key support, when it was a resistance becomes a support is a buying opportunity. But sometimes there's a risk associated to that because it could break out of that level and test this one. Okay. So what is the resistance for NVIDIA? Analysis is saying about 220. They said 220, but with this beat expectations, one analysis said it could get to 320. But I'm just following my technicals, and these are my level of resistance. So right now, there's going to have a little bit of struggle on that creating a new highest high with that 211, 212. If I
Right.
see a breakout, if you guys take a look at AMD before, there's the same pattern. They have the ascending channel and then break out. And then what's going to happen? You could retest that trend line right here. So you could break out of this level. You could test 212, 216, 218, 222, 224, which is the analysis is betting around 220, 220. This is their expectations for NVIDIA, right? But I think it could go higher. Let me take a look at my
Now,
RSI.
from a fundamental perspective, NVIDIA is fantastic
Yeah.
because You got a trailing P of 53, a forward P of 29. They just reported 57 billion. I just want you to understand what 57 billion is. There are about 100 companies in the world that are above 57 billion. It, it is such a large number. If you were a company and you were just worth 57 billion, you'd be somewhere at the number 100 company, publicly traded companies. So the amount of earnings that they brought out is tremendous, and it exceeded the expected earning. I think it was 52 to 54 was the
54.
expected earning. I can't
Mm-hmm.
memorize all the charts, but I think it was something like that. And they
Mm-hmm.
exceeded it. They
They
exceeded
did.
it by like 5% or something like that,
Yeah, they
which is
exceeded to
amazing
57. Mm-hmm.
from a fundamental perspective. So, if I was in the aftermarket, right, and I was buying shares of Nvidia based on the earnings, and I said I got my finger on the trigger with 1,000 shares of Nvidia, I'm ready to go, right? Boom, I would see the earnings, I'd be buying from a fundamental perspective. And what had happened? Nvidia went in the aftermarket, right? It went from its closing price of 186.52 to 196. It went up 5%. $10, 5%, which, by the way, 5% for a company like Nvidia is, if the company's worth 4.5 trillion and 10% is 450 billion, that's $225 billion. That's like if Tesla were to go up 20 to 25%, right? Unbelievable.
So right now, NVIDIA, where is NVIDIA right now? So now again, we're talking about these EMAs, right? EMAs, remember, they serve as a dynamic resistance, serve as a ceiling, serve as a shackle, serve as a hurdle. So we cannot ignore them. Why? Because if we can't surpass these EMAs, you got to look at your daily. If you cannot surpass these EMAs and we cannot surpass above 190, there's going to have a little bit of struggle on that 190, 191. But first struggle will be that 189 to 191, right? There's going to be a little bit of struggle in there. But break through that, we're looking at around 194 to 195. We're going to use this candle now to your left. Remember, look at the left side and look at the big candles. This is a big candle, but I know we're going to surpass this tomorrow. 189 or 191 is a resistance, but break out of that and we ended up having a candle above these EMAs. This thing could just definitely go fly and retest that 211, 212, and then creating the new highest high. And these are your top resistance. You could take a screenshot if you want. But tomorrow I'm going to be live again, so we'll go over this again. So if you do miss to take a screenshot, you could just wait for tomorrow. What else we could talk about? NVIDIA. Oh, I do use the 2-day chart, by the way. 2-day chart. Yeah, I like it. This is my 100 MAs. So as long as your candles remains above 50, it's still bullish. It's still bullish. Okay. Yep. So remember, tomorrow we need to watch 191, 190 surpasses that, and Nvidia could just go straight to that 212 to 211. But again, market sentiment, I think there's earnings coming in, right, Tamir? There's earnings coming in this Friday. This is a beautiful.
Yep.
So we got to be careful. There's still so much room to the upside for Nvidia. Shorter time frame is showing oversold, so it needs to cool off on the shorter time frame. Just really need to cool off. But the bigger time frame, remember we've been bleeding, so the daily still have so much room. We still below 50 MAs. We still have so much room using the weekly chart. Yep, we still have so much room to the upside. So the first hurdle, in order to clear the path, we need to be above 191 on the daily basis. Okay. By the way, before we
You
finish, because
guys
I
got
think,
that?
yep, before we finish, Tamir, I would like to say thank you to Switz. He gave us $20 tip. Thank you, and he's
Oh,
that was
wow. Thank
that
you.
was really nice of you to say that your princess is your Jewish princess or something like that. Somebody said that. Call me princess. You have a fan here, Tamir.
I noticed.
Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Switz. Thank you for your generosity. Yeah, absolutely. NVIDIA is always it's a good investment. Their future potential growth is already set in stone. They have over 500 billion pending contract. It's already there that they said their GPUs is already sold out. So and
Yeah,
they have so many contracts, right? What is that 100 contracts with OpenAI?
Nvidia is unbelievable. They make
They
up
are.
something like 8 to
Hmm.
8.5% of the S&P. They are a large, massive. They're producing in a quarter what a whole company is worth.
Yep.
Every quarter. Every quarter they're making a top 200 company. They're
Hmm.
creating it in revenue. It's just unbelievable. So yeah, I've told people this before. If you want to be a long-term investor, you could probably just buy Nvidia, you know, advice for a long time, and it won't disappoint. You won't lose money over the all the long term. Not financial advice, but when a company is producing this much and its growth is huge and its fundamentals are good, it's a winner. It should be in everybody's portfolio, really. If you're balancing it out.
Hmm. So when can you buy NVIDIA? If you're long term with NVIDIA, I believe every time it's red, you buy it. Right now, if I was buying Nvidia, by the way, I was not buying Nvidia. I had my portfolio back on when it was just 110 all the way to $80 or $90. That was my buying opportunity. And I told it to the Discord. Another one that I mentioned was APLD, Tamir. I think we discussed this on Sunday.
Yep,
We
we
said
did.
APLD was a good buy signal when it was touching all those support too. So now I think it's up $3. The second one, NVIDIA is still haven't broken that resistance of that 190, 191. For me, it's still looking good for me to buy. Because your top resistance lies on that 211, 212. But you got to think of it. What is your goal for NVIDIA? Are you swinging this? If you're swinging this, you might as well wait for the pullback, right? But if you're long-term hold, you basically just do DCA when it's red. That's
And you
the
could sell
technique there.
covered calls if you got anybody that knows what I'm talking about with options. If you own 100 shares of Nvidia, and it's hitting that resistance point that Mary's talking about, and it's hitting it consistently like it did a week or two ago when it was over 200. You could have sold covered calls against it, and you would have brought in some revenue, some free money, and it would have
Well,
dropped, and you
Tamir,
would you know
not everybody has a pocket like you to be buying 100 NVIDIAs, okay? And so I myself don't even have 100. So I know I'm just being honest. I'm being transparent, okay?
I was just
So
making an example.
I know, but you're absolutely right. But to those people who cannot afford NVIDIA 100 shares like myself, I buy NVDL, right? There is an
Right, NVDL
ETF
is
where
good.
it's buy
And for
NVD.
Tesla, it's TSLL,
That's right,
right?
TSLL. So
Which is
so
a great,
those
which is a great. But ETFs, just so you know, a little warning on the ETFs, they don't always move the same way the stock does. So you got to be a little careful sometimes with ETFs. Um, with these 2X ETFs, they also move often twice the speed. So if something goes down, they go down twice as much. If something goes
that's right.
up, they go up twice as much. So
That's correct.
really, you got to know what you're buying before you buy it. A great way to buy into companies like Nvidia, if you don't want the slow growth, is you buy into companies that partner with Nvidia, right? On bullish seasons. Not right now, but
Yeah,
like I was gonna do a video called Black Friday in the market because right now there's so many stocks that are on sale when the market turns around that just dropped 30%, 40%, 50%. A lot of these companies have great future tech and they're partnering up with Nvidia, with Amazon, with Google, and those are, if you want to make the bigger percentage gains, you get in at the right time on those. But what Mary was talking about before, buying on a pullback, that's a very common,
technique.
sure investor strategy that people do. You'll hear Josh say it. I'm buying on every pullback. I'm buying on every red day because when it hits that support level and it doesn't break it, it's a buy, and then it goes and it hits a new level of resistance, and
Yeah,
then when it breaks that one, and it'll come back down to that support level eventually, anyways. And you have to decide if the percentage gain from that one level to the next is enough for you.
that's
You
right.
know.
So NC said, is there's a risk associated with that TSLL and VDL? So those are 2x bull, right? So what Tamir was saying that it's a risky trade, but it's affordable in a way because if Tesla moves up, TSLL moves higher too, right? They are more affordable, But yes, there's a risk associated with this because if Tesla drop, TSLL will drop double, like like Tamir was saying, right? Same thing with NVIDIA. They
100%.
are ETF. Okay, so it may not be good, maybe long term, but at least for swinging or affordability wise, TSLL and NVDL is definitely a way to go if you don't
Right. It's
have
a
the
great
pocket
swing
like
trade if you hit it on the right support level. I
Mhm.
have gotten buried in the past, with TSLL calls,
Mhm.
buying them and not managing my support level. I'm just sharing with you so you don't have to make that same mistake. Very
Yeah.
important. Learn from my losses. Don't make them yourself. You
Mhm.
know, you can really go south. Tesla just dropped, 10% in like a few days, right? So
Mhm.
TSLL dropped 20%. If you're holding a call, you're probably lost everything on TSLL. You probably
Well,
lost all of it.
there's really nothing wrong holding it long term, but
Right.
it's
No, no,
just
holding long term is fine.
yeah, but the only thing is, and some people worries about theta too. Like it's already priced in on your price on your amount. But to those people who can't afford 100 shares of Tesla, go ahead and do TSL. There's nothing wrong with it. But the good thing about it, you could swing it. You know,
100%. I just did that on another name that's a 2X. I just did that on MSTX. I actually put it in the Discord. It's a 2X of MSTR. I saw
yep.
Bitcoin
Hmm.
hitting that 88,000 support and it looked like it was bouncing off from to me. I was actually following the lines.
Yep.
And so I put it in the chat. I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna buy some MSTX. It's so low and
Yeah.
it's hitting that line. And why am I saying that about Bitcoin? Because MSTR MicroStrategy is the largest Bitcoin holder of any public company. They
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
hoard
MSCX
Bitcoin
is good. Yeah, MSCX is good. But just like I said, I
up
prefer those two bull.
8.6.4% in the
Yeah,
aftermarket.
I prefer those ETF only for like swinging. I don't really like
Right.
it holding long term because it's, let's say, for example, right now, right? You buy that TSLL right now for long term. It went down over what, 50%? A little bit, right? So that's a lot. So just like I
100%.
said,
She's
yep.
right.
So if you're going to use bull like a double ETF, like 2x to ETF, swinging for me is the best way to use that. Or
She's right.
scalping, as a matter of fact. Or like, let's say we're gonna do options. So say, for example, we're going to do options in Tesla, right? Instead of you going to the options, buy TSLL, right? If I'm doing options
Yep.
with you guys and Tesla moves like what, $4 and $10, if those things move, that's like $1 or $2 move. Yeah, it's not much difference, but it's also the affordability of having TSLL compared to
And you lose something in the long term. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but these ETFs, they don't move the same way that the stock moves exactly. So
yeah.
sometimes you'll lose it over time. If you look 1 year ago at MSTX versus MSTR or TSL versus a Tesla, you'll see they're not going to come back to the same numbers the same way. Like, Tesla at 430 was not the same level of TSLL last year when it was 430. So there's something lost in the ETF. It's not made for long term,
No.
generally speaking. It's made for short term,
Yep.
um,
Or swing.
you know, or swing trading.
Tamir, I think it's time to say goodbye.
All
Thank you
right,
guys.
guys.
I
We
appreciate
really
you all. I
appreciate
love
it.
you
Wow,
guys.
101 people still in the chat. We hope we provided some value for you, fundamentals and technicals with Tamir and Miss Mary. I hope we gave you what you needed. Feel free to review the video as much as you can until you absorb all of the lessons learned here and you're able to practice it. I recommend you pick two names that you like that are not NVIDIA and Tesla and you practice it. You go look up the fundamentals. You can even type it into ChatGPT or one of those things. Say, what are the fundamentals of this stock? I want to know what the PE ratio is. I want to know what the put it in Google. I think Google still works, right? We don't all use AI. So you can look it up. You can look up the stock on TradingView, right? And get that information. So find out what they are, and then look at the technicals. Put the moving averages in your chart, and just test it. Test it yourself. Draw your own lines and say, okay, this is where it is, and this is where it needs to be, and watch it. You don't have to always be in the trade. Sometimes I wish I would have done that earlier in my career. Just paper traded and watched it. I probably would have lost a lot less money in the beginning of my venture.
Yep. Well, I love you guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. We will be live trading pre-morning huddle at 9 o'clock tomorrow. It will be available to everybody. But the good thing is we are going to use Zoom. Why?
Yeah.
Because YouTube is lagging. I don't want you to I don't want you guys to lose money. So you guys will
And and we're
go
very
ahead.
sorry about the delay this morning. I don't
That's
know what
right.
happened. My Zoom was not connecting to YouTube. It was very annoying.
No worry. We'll do it again next week, and we'll Tamir will host it because this is a show. So we'll go ahead and see him again next week. We'll do a trial too, Tamir.
All right, guys, have a great day or night wherever you are. It's 5:46 a.m. where I am.
Have a great day, Tamir. Have a great
Bye,
night,
guys.
everyone. I love you guys. Bye. See you tomorrow.